that was, but I like him.
Hello, I'm Melissa Rayberger with the headlines. New details on the disappearance of a 27-year-old expected mother from Utah. Co-workers of Lori Hacking say she received a phone call 3 days before she disappeared last Monday and left work in tears. Her supervisor tells the Associated Press the phone call was believed to be from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where her husband Mark had supposedly enrolled in medical school, only turns out he never applied and hadn't even graduated from college. A high-ranking Egyptian diplomat kidnapped in Iraq last Friday has been released unharmed. However, 5 new kidnappings are now reported. Militants say they seized 2 Jordanians, 2 Pakistanis, and an Iraqi. All of them work for the U.S. military. And President Bush is at his Texas ranch this week, where he's being joined by National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice. The president is deciding exactly how to proceed with the 9/11 Commission's urgent recommendations for national security. Those are your headlines. Now back to Hardball.
Outside Faneuil Hall, where I'd like to remind people, because I grew up with it, that's where Jack Kennedy addressed the country the night before he was elected president of the United States back in 1960. An incredible 44 years ago. Welcome back to Hardball's coverage of the Democratic Convention here in Boston. I think that's how you say it. I'm joined right now by 3 Democratic U.S. Senators: Debbie Stabenow of Michigan, Mary Landrieu of Louisiana, and Maria Cantwell of Washington. So, shove it. Shove it. The wife of a presidential candidate tells a reporter to shove it last night. Is that appropriate? Is that the kind of lingo you like to use, Senator?
Well, first of all, Teresa is a refreshing change of saying what she thinks, but I think what we ought to be asking is why the vice president went to the floor of the Senate and said what he did to Senator Leahy. I'd like to see a little bit more attention about that.
You want to escalate this battle. Senator Landrieu, you grew up in a political family, daughter of the great mayor of the Big Easy. You've apparently heard language like shove it before. Is this within the lines of propriety for her to call a reporter who is apparently a difficult reporter? He's from a very right-wing newspaper, which has got a case against the Democrats, I think it's fair to say. What do you think of her comment?
Well, I agree with Debbie that she used much more appropriate language than our sitting vice president. But people in America are glad to have someone that speaks the truth and sticks with their word.
So they must like Dick Cheney then, huh?
Well, that went a little overboard. That went a little overboard in the Senate. But someone that speaks her mind is going to be refreshing, because there are a lot of important issues to talk about, not just labels and gimmicks.
Senator Cantwell, Washington State, do you think the First Lady-to-be perhaps should continue to speak in that fashion? For example, if we get in trouble with the French at some point, should she tell the French to shove it?
Well, I think the key thing is it wasn't a 4-letter word. I think she expressed herself, and I think she wanted people to step back.
It's a 5-letter word.
That's right.
But Chris, she can speak French.
Well, what's shove it in French? Let me go on to another serious matter. That's the President of the United States to be, perhaps, if this party convention is successful. John Kerry, from what I heard this morning from Tad Devine, probably one of the top people working with him. The goal here this week is very clear: to display the candidate of the Democratic Party for president as a person who can defend the country in time of crisis, which we're in right now. Senator Landrieu, tell us your account of why you think that's true. Why is he a better potential president than the one we have to defend the country?
Well, first of all, he has a record as a veteran. He is a decorated war veteran, having fought and served in Vietnam. In addition to his experiences as serving in Vietnam in a very dangerous place during that war, he's come back to be an aggressive prosecutor, a senator that's worked on issues regarding defense, supports our military. And Chris, we not only need a strong military, we need smart military strategy.
Were you saying all that, you 3 Democratic senators, were you saying in 1992 that we were better off with a guy who fought in the Second World War, shot down twice by the Japanese? He was kicked out of office by a guy who made a real effort not to serve in Vietnam. What's changed? Why was it okay to elect Bill Clinton in 92, a man who made an effort, a serious, successful effort to stay out of the military, and a guy who actually fought twice, fought all through World War II? Why did you change your tune here?
This is a combination of someone who has strength not only because he served, but common sense. I mean, John Kerry wants a stronger, safer, smarter smarter America.
Is it important that the President of the United States Commander-in-Chief be a veteran of military service?
I think
Is that
it's
important?
that the President of the United States have a sense of where we need to go in terms of our moral leadership in the country. We need to understand what it means to have the respect of the world, to be able to support our troops in a real way, to be able to really keep us safe. I mean, my concern, here we are in a city where we're all focused right now on whether or not we'll be secure for the convention, and yet the President has not been willing to release funds to be able to provide what our police and firefighters need to be able to keep us safe.
Do you feel that you're not safe in Boston this week because of actions taken or not taken by President Bush?
I think that we have
that's a
not
good question.
seen-
Can you answer it yes or no? Do you feel
I
less
don't
safe
believe we
because
are
of
as
him?
safe as we should be.
Because of the President?
I think the President has not supported resources that we need. We've got to all work together as a team. There's no question about it. But instead of closing down the COPS program, we're trying to, and the firefighters, and moving money over to Homeland Security, we need new resources.
Chris, I think this is an important issue because of the undecided voters, 65% of them are women. And when you look at the women vote on this issue, they're very concerned about national security as much as what's happening in Iraq and Afghanistan. And on this issue of national security, Kerry is a former prosecutor. Now, we haven't heard a lot about this record yet. I mean, hopefully on Thursday night he'll talk about that. But Debbie's bringing up a key point. Where are the resources and infrastructure investment? When you live in Washington, D.C. or New York and you're at orange alert, it's a concern. And women are very concerned about national security.
Let me ask you about this because Gloria Borgiou, who I've worked with a lot, has pointed out that times have changed because of 9/11. It used to be men, as a generality, of course, were focused on law and order, defense, maybe lower taxes. Women have always been focused much more on health care because they have to worry about their parents' health, their kids' health, their husband's health, their own health, and insurance matters are always important. Is security, the security here, the security in our homes, the security in terms of foreign policy, become a non-gender issue? It's become as important to women or more important to women?
In Louisiana, let me just jump in here, we have 75% of our Guard and National Reserve deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan. 75%, the highest percentage in America. And so when these troops ship off, not all of them are men, but many of them are, the spouses are home, the mothers are home, the families are home. So you're absolutely right. That's why this issue...
What about the security issue at home? Senator, do you think people right there, women, are worried as much about getting blown up as they are about better schools?
I think if you think about it specifically, women, aren't very secure walking down the street at night. I don't know that most men have to worry about that. So when it comes to this issue of national security, I think we have an even higher importance on what somebody's going to do as president. Sure, they want them to be strong abroad, but they also want to know at home that we're going to be secure.
Can I ask you all, we only have a minute or two.
Chris, if I can just say there's more to security as well, because we understand, women understand, security means being able to have a good job, being able to have health care, your kids being able to go to school, be able to go to college. And so what I think is so important about John Kerry is that he not only wants to make sure that we are strong abroad, but that we are strong at home as Americans.
Would Hillary Clinton make a good president someday?
Of course.
Would she?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Do you think she has the patience to try to help John Kerry and John Edwards win the offices they're running for, even if it means she has to wait longer to get the job?
She's a team player, and I'd like to say this about Hillary, even though the press always wants to separate her out, she's a team player.
She's willing to wait her turn.
She is willing to do whatever it takes to win this year.
This year?
This year.
You think she's really going to go all out for this ticket, even if it means she doesn't get the job?
We all are. We're totally united.
I mean, this
And Senator Cantwell, you've been quiet here.
Yes.
Do you think Hillary Clinton is willing to sacrifice her own immediate political ambitions for the Democrat success?
You can never be hurt in politics by being a team player, and she's going to demonstrate that she's one heck of a team player, and no matter what the consequences are, she'll benefit from that.
But when it comes to election night, will she be rooting for Kerry and Edwards, even though that means she's got to wait
Listen,
12 years?
if you've been on the Senate floor and you've had to lose by one vote all of these issues, whether it's on the environment or women's right to choose, I guarantee you she'd like to have a new
Wouldn't she make a
administration.
better Senate majority leader than a president?
I think she has a bright future. There's a lot of things that
I
Hillary
think
can
she'd
do.
be better run. I don't know. I think she'd be a better Senate majority leader than the
You
other
know what's
guys.
most important right now, Chris, is
That's
we
what's
have never
probably
been...
going to lose anyway, right? So you're going to need a
No,
leader.
he's going to win.
He's going to win against who?
Absolutely. But you know what? We've never been more unified. Everybody is together and understanding that we can do better than the last 4 years.
Are you looking forward to Bill Clinton's speech tonight, all you?
Of course,
Okay, here's the top
absolutely.
question. Was Bill Clinton a good president?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good president. His qualities people still
good
want to get
president.
back to.
He was a great president for our economy, and he moved the Democratic Party forward on trade, which I think was very important for us.
Was he good for women?
He was good for opportunities
Was he good for women?
There's no question that, Anna.
Can I ask the question and get an answer? Was he good for women?
He was good for women and his policies, absolutely.
Was she good for women, yes or no?
Yes, he was good.
Of course he was good.
He was good for women, yes.
22 million
I'm having a hesitation problem here. I'm hearing a political stutter here.
22
Senator
million
Stabenow,
new jobs.
you're a big-time senator from one of the most
That's right.
important states. Was Bill Clinton good for women, yes or no?
He was good for women because 22 million jobs, education, health
I
care.
get your point. Well stated. Senator Campbell, was he good for women?
Yes.
See, that's the kind of answer I like. Washington's more liberal than Michigan. Anyway, thank you very much, Senators Cantwell, Stabenow, and Landrieu. Coming up, NBC News is Andrea Mitchell will join us from the floor. You're watching Hardball's live coverage of the Democratic National Convention on MSNBC.
Are you ready for more? Get up to $2,000 cash back on the Kia Sorento, up to $2,500 back on Sedona, or 0% financing on a Monte. More cash in your pocket, more car in your garage.
Attention homeowners. Need cash to consolidate bills, pay off credit cards, home improvements? Don't wait for interest rates to go up. Apply now for a second mortgage with a no closing cost option from Ditech.com. Ditech.com is a direct lender, so there's no middleman or broker fee to pay. Don't wait. Get the cash you need now with a second mortgage from Ditech.com. Call 1-800-DITECH-1 or log on to Ditech.com now. Ditech.com, your mortgage solution delivered.
Leonard, I have an idea. We can both be Priceline spokesmen.
Sure, spokesman.
You talk about one way of booking airfare. Choose your exact flights and times from a list of low prices. I talk about the other way. Name your own price, save even more. Like, the choice. Two ways.
Sounds logical. But no.
But I was here first. Priceline, the best choice in travel.
Here's to recognizing all the things that make life sweet. Crystal Light, 15 refreshing flavors. Just 5 calories and less than 1 carb. Enjoy life one sip at a time.
Wherever you are, wherever you're going, T-Mobile hotspot locations are with you throughout your day. Wi-Fi internet service for your laptop or PDA. T-Mobile, get more.
Introducing the totally redesigned Kia Spectra, starting around $13,000. More value, more obsession. Welcome to more. The Kia Spectra.
Tonight, is the Carrie Edwards Plan for America viable? Pat Buchanan and Bill Press have arguments from the left and right on Countdown with Keith Olbermann, tonight at 8 on MSNBC.
It's the convention after hours. Join Joe Scarborough and Ron Reagan for what happened today and what you can expect tomorrow. Midnight tonight on MSNBC.
Attention stock market investors. Recently, large brokerage firms were fined $1.4 billion to settle charges of biased research by their analysts. If you suffered a significant financial loss in the stock market, it could have been the result of the fraudulent actions of your brokerage firm, and you may be able to get your money back. Call the law offices of James Sokolov at 1-800-632-4040. That's 1-800-632-4040.
This summer, the oldest sporting event in history enters a whole new era. The first Summer Olympic Games to be broadcast in high definition are coming to Athens. Get close to the Olympic Games like never before. Purchase a select Panasonic HD TV and order digital cable with high definition and get $100 to a Comcast digital cable. It's the best way to watch the games in HD.
Welcome back to Hardball. NBC's Andrea Mitchell joins us right now from the convention floor itself. Andrea.
Hey, Chris, you know, one of the problems problems here for some of the speakers has been that the Kerry and DNC people have been trying to keep all the red meat out of these speeches. They want to be kinder and gentler, and that has affected some of the potential speakers. I'm standing here now with former head of the Democratic National Committee, current governor of Pennsylvania, Ed Rendell. Governor, I gather that they've taken some of the best lines out of your speech, the speech you're going to give Wednesday night.
Absolutely, but I understand that, and I know the reason for the message. We want this to be about John Kerry and John Edwards, not about George Bush.
Well, we're going to give you a chance right now on MSNBC to give us, tell me a line that they cut out. What hit the...
I will say to you that, I'll give you the line, but my devotion to John Kerry and how important I think it is for the American people that he wins will be tested if I don't extemporize on Wednesday night, and I don't think I will. My line was the Bush energy policy was written by Big Oil, of Big Oil, and for Big Oil. Good line, but, you know, look, I understand.
That line was too tough for this Democratic Party?
I understand. Look, we don't want this to be critical. The American people have made a judgment on the Bush administration. They've given it an F. Now they want to see whether Kerry Edwards can do the job. So we want all the attention focused on John Kerry and John Edwards. And I agree with that policy. And again, the big question is, will I agree with it Wednesday night when I get up there? And I think I will.
Well, I'm hoping you'll extemporize a little bit. But, you know, we were told earlier that Al Gore was in serious rewrite. I know that he was up all night with some of his former speechwriters. And the word tonight is that he was told just to cull it for length, not to tone it down. Do you buy that?
Well, again, I don't know, and I shouldn't speculate on that. And again, if I wanted to, and I'm still thinking about it, I could go back and say, guys, take another look at this stuff. And frankly, I've been too busy in the last 2 days.
Why the thought police? I mean, what is this, the white bread party?
Because it's the right policy. Again, the American people have made up their mind about George Bush.
You're saying that strategy, tactics trump ideas.
No, we're saying that we want to focus. I'm going to have a lot of ideas in my speech, Andrea, and my ideas are going to be about what John Kerry wants to do to promote alternative energy. That's crucial, and you know the Bush administration has done virtually nothing. And it's crucial for America.
That's your take on it. That's not ours, but just, you know, just to be down the middle here.
But if we injected you with sodium pentothal, and I'm going to have a lot of facts in my speech about what we want to do. And let me tell you, the nation that corners the market on alternative energy is a nation that's going to have a lot of economic growth in the next 30 or 40 years. And I want it to be the United States of America, and so does John Kerry.
Before I let you go, let's just talk about the horse race, Pennsylvania, critical state. In some polls, Kerry was up by 10. Is that soft?
Yeah, I mean, we won't win by 10 or 11 points. It's going to be a very close race. I would be overjoyed if we did as well as Al Gore did, carrying the state by 4 points. I think we can do that, but I think we have our work cut out for you. And there's not one person in this delegation who thinks it's going to be easy, not one.
Ed Rendell, Chris, I don't know if you're going to take the bet as to whether he's going to stick to the speech, stick to the program on Wednesday night. We'll have to see.
Well, we'd like to get some red meat during prime time this week. Anyway, thank you, Andrea Mitchell. We'll be back with the panel in just a moment.
Assurance in rain means Goodyear's deeply carved aqua chutes propel water away from your tread. Assurance on ice means Goodyear's interlocking treads deliver gripping power. Assurance on dry pavement means Goodyear's reinforced shoulders give you confident maneuvering. The revolutionary new Goodyear Assurance with triple tread technology for assurance in any weather on the wings of Goodyear.
The Summer Picnic Feast, new from Boston Market. Our famous rotisserie chicken, 3 large sides, cornbread, a half-gallon of lemonade, and your choice of chocolate mania or strawberry shortcake bliss. The whole spread for $19.99. Boston Market. We're always cooking.
That's a dollar bill from our first sale. And that's a note from our first client just wishing us luck. What's this? It's our first temper tantrum. We needed to ship a package and the UPS store was closed. Steve lost it. But now we go to FedEx Kinko's because they're open late. A lot of them are open 24/7. That's Steve.
The new FedEx Kinko's. Make it, print it, pack it, ship it. Our office is your office.
Do
Introducing the new richer taste of Maxwell House Original. You told us you wanted a richer coffee. We listened. Try the new taste of Maxwell House and make every day good to the last drop.
Geico.com, you can get free rate quotes and handle all your car insurance needs online. But we like to make it interesting. Here's an idea we received via email. Yo, I think your website would be the bomb if you had the gecko do the robot.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I'm sorry, I was driving too fast.
No, really, totally my fault. The good thing is we're okay. There's so many more important things in life. If I'm not mistaken, you must be gelling, like Magellan.
Are you gelling yet? Dr. Scholl's massaging gel insoles are made from the softest gel ever created. If you and your shoes don't feel outrageously comfortable, you get your money back. Guaranteed.
Come on, move it! Listen to that yelling. He's so not gelling.
Are you gelling? Dr. Scholl's.
Business today is beautiful. Rent is in here, expenses in there. Go to those brands. Super fast, secure data over IP, and you're totally connected wirelessly. Wow. My business is beautiful, and my business is beautiful.
Whether it happens on the other side of the globe or right next door, turn to the nation's most trusted news source. America's watching MSNBC.
Jennifer Granholm is the governor of Michigan. How many people here from Michigan? Here.
Midwest is
So where do you stand on cafe standards?
Well, you know, cafe is something that's perhaps a goal, but we don't want to get there too soon because we want to make sure we save automotive jobs as well. So it's a balance.
I mean, I'm just asking whether the Democratic Party is the party of the automotive industry, which you represent,
yes,
or the party of a strong environmental regulation.
As you know, it's not a zero sum. It's,
are you grabbing me to try to make me? I will not. You are grabbing me to try to make me be nicer to you. I don't know if I accept that.
All right. Well, I won't. I promise I won't touch. But I can tell you that you want to have a clean environment and we want to have a robust economy, and you don't have to have one and not have the other. Both are possible.
Was Bill Clinton a good president?
Bill Clinton was a great president.
Well, why was he impeached? Why was he impeached if he was such a good president?
You know what? Here's the problem, is that we have devolved as a country into such enormous partisanship that what happens in Washington really causes the country to polarize, and that's happened in this administration too. That's why this convention is all about bringing people together to really put meat on.
This convention is representative of America. You're paying tribute. In fact, you're going to lay down and almost adore this guy who was impeached by the United States Congress.
This man, I'm sorry. He was a tremendous president. We left the country with a historic surplus. We now, unfortunately, have a historic deficit. Fiscal responsibility is important to the people we want to persuade in the middle.
Was Bill Clinton good for women?
I think he was good for women.
You think he was? Well, you just pulled back there.
Because
I
could anticipate your follow-up question. You know, we're not talking about his personal life. What we're talking about...
We're not talking about his behavior in the Oval Office.
Exactly. What we're talking about is the policies that he adopted were very good for women.
But overall, Governor Granholm, are you willing to say on the record that Bill Clinton was good for the women of America?
Yes, I do think he was overall very good for the women of America. Ask these women back here who feel very
we'll get to her. Let me ask you about Al Gore. You know, they're talking about trying to craft his speech. The thought police are out. Your party's trying to hide the crazy ladies in the attic and bring it down to a very moderate, un-Michael Moore kind of party. The political party that you lead in the state of Michigan, how many people in that party are damned opposed to this war? What percentage of the Democrats think this war is terrible?
I think there's a good number.
Why don't you let them speak at this convention then? Why is this convention saying things like, people disagree over the war, they can agree to disagree? What happened to the Democratic Party that fought over issues?
Well, the Democratic Party is a great big tent, and we fight all the time, but we also know that people don't want to see partisan rancor. They want to get elected. I know this is tough for the media because they want to cover up.
Governor, why should a hawk vote for John Kerry? You want hawks to vote for John Kerry?
We want Americans all across the spectrum to vote for John Kerry. We want everybody to vote for John Kerry because he's going to be better for America than the current administration. We need change at the top, Chris. We're in the wrong direction. We're in the cellar of international esteem as a country. We need to bring people together. We need inside the country and out for our self-esteem and our inner esteem in the world to rise.
Were you pumped up to see John Kerry walking around with a broken shotgun the other day, carrying it just right? Was that aimed at the John Diggles of this world, the hunters of Michigan? It was such a pander lay down, wasn't it? He's walking around with a shotgun, knowing just how to carry it. That was aimed at Michigan, wasn't it?
You know, he's a hunter, he's an outdoorsman, he was
what happened to the party of gun
windsurfer.
control? What happened to the party of gun control?
I don't know that the Democratic Party has been the party of gun control. I think we have been a party that is interested in safety and interested in reasonable use of guns and regulation of guns.
Have you read the platform? It's a hoot. Your party platform, which was just approved, said we're not going to depend on Middle East oil anymore, but we're not going to drill for any oil, and we're not going to go to Alaska for oil. And my only question is, there's a lot of cars being produced in Michigan. What are they going to run on?
We are obviously...
Notice how everybody gets quiet here. I see how you all get quiet, because you're all curious. You're all curious.
We're going to build the cars of the future, too. We do want to wean ourselves... Wait.
What are they going to run on?
Well, they might run on ethanol. That might be one of the things that they run.
What, 30, 40 years from now?
No, not at all. They want to do it on a much quicker time frame. We have invested a great deal of research and development in the hydrogen fuel cell, which is going to be an important next generation of vehicle, the hybrid vehicles, very important for the next generation. So we are very excited about alternative energies and using that to further the sales of autos and creation of auto jobs.
What do you put in the fuel tank of your car?
Gas.
Okay, you get the gas primarily from the Middle East. What's going to change? I'm reading the Democratic platform. I sometimes think I'm the only one that's read it. We're going to end our reliance on Mideast oil. It sounds like I'd love it. Who wouldn't love it as an American? Not that to worry about that part of the world so much. But when is it? It's 2004 right now. Give me an estimate of what year we'll be able to drive cars that don't need gas from the Middle East.
Well, I don't know the
50
time.
Years from now?
No, less than that, I think. I mean, we really want to move toward that and move toward it quickly. But, you know, you're suggesting that Americans' imagination is limited. We have the smartest country in the entire world. We have often surmounted obstacles and gotten to that next frontier. For us, the next frontier perhaps is lifting the lid off and imagining what the next generation of vehicles, the next generation of energy could be. Jeremy Rifkin wrote a great book called The Hydrogen Economy. That's the vehicle of the future is going to be built in Michigan.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yes?
Did you ever find yourself...
She said no.
I mean, these are all partisan people out here, but let me ask you this. Did you ever find yourself watching the President of the United States, George W. Bush, during the last 4 years, saying, right on, preachers, you're doing just the right job? Did you ever feel that? Did you ever feel at a moment, you know, he's the kind of leader we need right now? Ever? You never liked him?
I liked the speech he gave at his inauguration. I think he did a great speech at his inauguration. I think it's gone downhill from there.
You're great. We're going to stay with us. We're going to right now to Andrea Mitchell. By the way, we have to say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
You were on the Harvard Law Review, dating game. This woman's done everything. She's a star. I'll read your bio. Let's go right now to Andrea Mitchell, who's on the floor of the convention. There she is, Andrea Mitchell.
Hey, Chris, thank you. I'm here with the chairman of the Democratic Convention, who is the governor of New Mexico, former energy secretary, former UN ambassador, lots of titles, Bill Richardson. How much control is the party asserting on these speeches tonight? Why is the message so boiled down and lacking in real attack lines?
Well, we want it to be a positive convention. You've heard President Bush's name very little at the start. We want the American people, most expressly the 10%, 15% that are undecided, to see Democrats having solutions, having economic growth plans, having a national security plan. But this really is a convention that is building up day 1, 2, and 3 to day 4 when Senator Kerry speaks. And today, we're highlighting some of the accomplishments, our stars, the Clintons, Gore, President Carter, to build up to Senator Kerry, who's the main star. And we're trying to get the message that he's a good guy, he's a Vietnam veteran, he knows foreign policies, experience, he's ready to take over.
Message received, that's the commercial. But what about those ideologues in the party who want, you know, some more sort of attack lines, who want to hear more of an attack against George W. Bush?
Well, what you're going to see is a very united party. There are delegates that are more liberal than the nominee than many of us. But
The polling shows that most of the people here, at least 35%, don't agree with Kerry on a lot of issues, on the war, on abortion, on some of his more centrist positions.
But Democrats are so thirsty for a victory, and they want to replace President Bush so much that they will unify, they will lessen their expectations on the platform, and this calls for a unified party. Maybe a convention that doesn't have much controversy and not a lot of fun for the press, but our message is for undecideds, and also to energize these delegates here that are the ones that get the votes for the party, the ones that go out and make phone calls and raise the funds and mobilize. So we have a dual purpose: appeal to the undecideds with a positive message, but also galvanize with some strong stem winders that you will see of the party faithful that is so important in getting our base voters out.
Now, Chris has a question for you, Governor. Chris?
I was just wondering, Governor Richardson, if shove it is going to be the spirit of the new U.S. diplomacy if the Kerrys take over.
You better, Chris, repeat that one more time. He doesn't...
Do you think that shove it is diplomatic language for the future?
Give it to me one more time, Chris.
I'm beginning to sound awful here. Does he agree with Mrs. Kerry's language in reporting and talking to that Pittsburgh reporter?
Sorry. So the question is, do you agree with Teresa Heinz Kerry's language telling the Pittsburgh reporter from, you know, admittedly a right-wing news organization to shove it? Is that diplomatic? Is that softer, kinder, gentler?
That's okay. That shows she's a real person. You know, there's so much tension in these campaigns. I think that's fine. That's not even a swear word. So, you know, that's releasing tension. She's a strong woman. She has character. She has commitment. You know, I think once in a while us politicians must be given a little break once in a while, and I think what she said was her feelings. It wasn't a swear word. It was colorful. That's okay.
Thank you very much, Governor Richardson. So I guess the toughest that we're going to hear in this Democratic Party is shove it. Now we'll shove it over to Carl Quintanilla, also on the floor. Carl?
Andrea, we're not far away from you. All of these battleground states very much laid out towards the front of the stage. One of those states, obviously, is Missouri, which is virtually a dead heat right now. Chad Chitwood is a first-time delegate. Chad, is there any frustration that the economy, especially in Missouri, has been so weak, and yet Kerry hasn't seemed to get more mileage than in the polls?
Well, you know, the economy in Missouri has been better than in other places. The governor's done a good job with that, and the state as a whole has worked really hard on it. But yeah, it's frustrating that this economy has kept falling, and yet we go farther into deficit and never get anywhere with it.
Congressman Dick Gephardt passed over for the VP job. Any resentment over that, and do you think he's going to have a role in the Kerry administration? There's been some speculation that he might be some kind of Secretary of Labor, perhaps Chief of Staff, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely not. There's no animosity. You know, Kerry won the battle. He got to make his pick. That's his guy. We're behind him 100%, and he's absolutely going to have a role. I mean, he's been around. He's been a good guy for labor, and he's been a good guy in Congress, and he's going to have a role.
And when you talk to the delegates here, there's been so much talk this week about trying to tone down or tamper down the Bush bashing. Is the craving for some kind of diplomacy this week outweigh the anger that a lot of Democrats have? Do you want to see some of the fists fly?
I don't. I mean, I think John Edwards really pushed the feeling of talking about the issues, keeping the issues up front, and keeping a good campaign going. And I think that's a lot of why he's on the ticket. I mean, I think people respond to that message and keeping things positive and talking about the future as opposed to the past.
Chad, I know you're still making your way, getting to know the Fleet Center as a first-time delegate. Missouri, obviously, Chris, going to be watched very closely. As you know, they voted for the winner every election since 1956. Chris.
Thank you, Carl. Ken News down on the floor at the convention. Let's go right now to David Gregory, White House correspondent for NBC. Let's go right now. He's got an interview with Bill Clinton. So we're going right now to Tom Brokaw's interview with former President Bill Clinton.
You have to worry about the tone of the language of some of his supporters going after George Bush.
The most important thing is that he not fall into that.
It's okay for them to do it?
Well, I don't think there's nothing we can do about it. The bitterness is, I think, also really rooted in the reaction to the 2002 elections, where every Democrat who didn't support the Homeland Security bill, just as it was written, was treated as an ally of Saddam Hussein.
Do you worry that you'll become a lightning rod again if you stand up beside John Kerry? There will be Republicans out there saying, here's a guy who lied to his family, lied under oath, lied to the country, and he's back again. Or do you think the book has put that away?
I don't know what the book did. The book, I think, is what it is. It's the story of my life. But what I think about that is, when I left office, about 2/3 of the American people thought I'd been a good president, and they thought I was pulling for them. They thought I'd made a bad mistake and paid for it.
We're going right now to David Gregory. He's out. He covers the president for NBC News, and he's out in Los Angeles. We're going to get to him right after the break. Right now, we're going to go right now to a break. We'll be right back with an interview with David Gregory on what President Bush thinks about what's going on.
MSNBC's coverage of the Democratic National Convention is brought to you by Liberty Mutual.
Did you know that a car hitting a wall at 40 miles per hour hits with the same force as if it fell off a 5-story building? It's not easy getting through to teenagers today. So at Liberty Mutual, we produced a video especially for teens about car safety, because we'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe on the road.
Liberty Mutual, it's more than insurance. It's insurance in action.
Now for 60 miles per hour. Wasn't that fun?
Hi, Johnson. Yeah, listen, we've decided we're gonna have to let you go. You're fired. You're taking this well. You'll go far with that attitude. Only not here, because you're fired.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch, with tasty raisins, crunchy flakes, and honey granola clusters. It's the Raisin Bran with crunch. Sounds good.
Assurance in rain means Goodyear's deeply carved aqua chutes propel water away from your tread. Assurance on ice means Goodyear's interlocking treads deliver gripping power. Assurance on dry pavement means Goodyear's reinforced shoulders give you confident maneuvering. The revolutionary new Goodyear Assurance with triple tread technology for assurance in any weather on the wings of Goodyear.
Hey, Mr. Rodriguez, big game tonight, huh?
Hey, A-Rod, MVP, right? New York, pressure, no sweat.
That's why SpeedStick 24/7 has patented sweat and odor fighters for maximum protection 24/7.
Whoa, A-Rod, got 80 homers!
For every New York minute of your 24-hour day, there's SpeedStick 24/7.
So, Alex, just one home run tonight?
Tough town.
SpeedStick 24/7, maximum protection 24/7 by Menet.
Tonight, is the Kerry Edwards plan for America viable? Pat Buchanan and Bill Press have arguments from the left and right on Countdown with Keith Olbermann, tonight at 8 on MSNBC.
If you can afford newspaper advertising, you can afford cable TV. Comcast Spotlight can make it happen. And with Comcast Spotlight, you can precisely target the customers you want to reach. So why settle for this when you can have this?
Put your business on the fast track. Call Comcast Spotlight to find out more about advertising on cable.
Yeah, I've made some mistakes, like the meat smoker, the engine overhaul, and that satellite dish.
How about now? No!
But that's all behind me. For one thing, we have Comcast digital cable. With Comcast, we get lots of choices in high def. Picture is unbelievable. I think that kind of makes up for all the other stuff. Honey?
That was then. This is Comcast.
Welcome back. As the Democrats convene here in Boston, President Bush is at his ranch in Crawford, Texas. NBC White House correspondent David Gregory joins us now from Los Angeles. David, what is the word from the White House? Are they loving this thing of Bill Clinton coming back or what?
Well, I think their major focus here is on whether John Kerry can actually punch through. I mean, they're counting on the fact that they've been able to define, in their view, John Kerry as somebody who's a flip-flopper. They think that there's a great deal really a burden on him to overcome to try to connect with the American people. And I think they're trying to set expectations at an unreasonably high level to say, if John Kerry can't come out of this convention with a big enough bounce, then he wasn't a success, and then we're off and running. So they're all about setting these expectation games. That's what they're trying to lay down.
Well, of course, it's hard to get a big bounce when like 90% of the American people have already made up their mind. As Peter Hart said a few moments ago, or actually said it this morning, he said that this is a concrete trampoline. A concrete trampoline they're jumping on. It doesn't bounce too high. But let me ask you about the theater, the show business of this convention. The Democratic Party is making every effort to show the party's a middle-of-the-road moderate party. They're trying to keep the crazy people off camera, people that sort of think and act generally like Michael Moore. They're trying to kill that left wing. The president's people are putting out the word all over the place that this is a makeover, a cosmetic surgery of the Democratic Party. Is that the way you see it? I see it as cosmetic surgery as a charge, and the Democrats actually practicing some of that cosmetic theater here.
Well, there's no question that what you're going to see more of, and what you've already seen some of from the president. I've been traveling with him for the past week or so on the campaign trail, and he makes a big point about John Kerry and John Edwards being the lawyer ticket. Also making the case that John Kerry's idea of balancing the ticket was by putting someone who was the fourth most liberal member of the Senate to be his running mate. So I mean, they've got a kind of narrative about these two candidates, but primarily about Kerry being the northeastern Massachusetts liberal that he's going to run with. And it's the simple theme. The president told people early on that there's something about Massachusetts liberal that has a ring to it, and that's very much what he wants to go with. And I think, tell you something else, Chris, that's important. The vice president is on the West Coast this week, even as the convention is going on. And listening to him today in Washington State, he was making a big case, quoting the 9/11 report, talking about how Al-Qaeda remains a persistent threat to the United States, that it's just as determined as the Axis powers were in World War II to defeat the United States. This ticket is going to make the case every day that America is under threat of attack and that essentially it's too dangerous to change teams right now. That's the advantage that they want to ride through to the rest of the election. And even John Kerry in his recent interviews has acknowledged that that's what he's got to do, is convince people that he's right there with George Bush, that he can keep America just as safe.
Well, let me ask you about the war. John Kerry, from everything we've heard, is going to be very biographical, autobiographical this week, and I think that people like former President Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, the former President Jimmy Carter, and the former Vice President Al Gore have all been told your message tonight is the strength of this man's resume. This man fought in wars. He opposed the war when it came time, and that was his view. He was always a man who was there on the spot. How does the White House counter John Kerry, Lieutenant John Kerry, the captain of the Swift boat?
Well, I don't think that they try to necessarily rebut his national security credentials, because he's got them. Not only is he a veteran, not only is he taken shots under fire, but he's also served in the Senate. He is certainly more experienced, if you look at it on paper, than George W. Bush was as the former governor of Texas. What I think they try to do is say, what would John Kerry really do? Is he a kind of soulless politician who just was going to tell you what you want to hear? You know where George W. Bush stands. And to be frank about it, a lot of people in this country don't like where he stands or what he's done when it comes to the war on terror or the war in Iraq. But I think the argument they're going to try to make is you don't know what John Kerry would do ultimately in a situation with American security on the line. You know he would protect America, but would he do what you really have to do to keep America safe? I think that's the argument you're going to hear from the Bush-Cheney folks, from the president and the vice president themselves. The downside, of course, as you know, Chris, is that there's also a record that John Kerry can run against when it comes to this president and vice presidential ticket about what they've done in Iraq that's been very controversial and that has not panned out the way they said it would.
Why did the president go to his ranch in Crawford, Texas, which has been an emblematic situation? A lot of people don't like the fact that him on vacation again. Why did he do that this week and sort of emblemize that part of his problem?
You know, I think he's taken some heat for going out to the ranch a good deal, but at the same time, there's also a good deal of symbolism about the president on his ranch. I spoke to a White House advisor this week who said, yeah, you probably won't see the president. You know, he's typically down during the other party's convention, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out to the local coffee station where he gets a barbecued sandwich or a hamburger and says, oh, yeah, it must be a big homecoming for the senator back there in Boston. I mean, there's a contrast here where the White House would love nothing better than two images side by side, the president in a cowboy hat and a chainsaw clearing brush from his ranch, and John Kerry kite surfing in Nantucket Bay. These are two images, and even though you could say that George W. Bush comes from a similarly patrician background, as a political matter, he's made that transformation. And these kinds of images, I think, are going to be important down the stretch.
It's great hearing from David Gregory, White House correspondent for NBC. Thanks. And then we're going to be back right now with our panel on more of Ron Reagan's interview with Fahrenheit 9/11 filmmaker Michael Moore.
Well, speaking of guys who look a little grim, we just happened upon some of your cast members
I
here.
know, you've got my whole cast.
There's a whole bunch here.
We've got, you know, we're running Oscar campaigns, actually, for these two guys, for Best Supporting Actor. We've got Best Actor down there. He's got the funniest lines in the film.
It's
Mr.
true.
Bush.
Yeah.
But this guy right here, Best Original Song. He writes and sings his own song in the movie,
Let the Eagles Soar. Yes.
And he's got a good voice.
Well, it's pretty good. He was a little flat in places, but, well, you know, hey, not that I would
so harsh.
No, he's an amateur, let's be fair. Yeah.
The man is Attorney General and a lounge singer.
Now, let me ask you, with Vice President Cheney here, in all the footage that you screened of him, and I'm sure you screened plenty, did you ever see him actually use the other side of his mouth? Did he? Because I've never actually, it's usually the left side.
I think whatever the machine is that runs him only works on this side. I think that's basically the problem there. But we wish him well. We don't want anything bad to happen to him there, you know. And seems like a decent guy, and you know he's got a gay daughter. So hey, that's good.
Yeah.
You know, you got to give him credit for that, raising a lesbian. I mean, I've never raised a lesbian. I'd love to raise a lesbian. And so God bless him for that. And
we got Rummy down
now,
here.
Rummy here, I don't know what to do with him.
Mr. Trenchcoat.
Mr. Trenchcoat here. My favorite part in the film with him is where he talks about the precision bombing. And of course, sadly, the New York Times a few weeks ago, front page story of the first 50 airstrikes to try and get the Iraqi leadership. We were 0 for 50 on the bombing runs. And so unfortunately, we killed a lot of civilians, but he doesn't look too upset.
And then, of course, we've got
well, here we go.
The big fella. Now, if he were actually here, not just a cardboard cutout, what do you think he would say to you?
Well, geez, I hope he'd invite me over for some cornbread and some barbecue and, you know...
down to Crawford?
I'm going down there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We're going to have the big Crawford premiere of the movie on Wednesday, and he's back there on vacation again. He loves to go there. You know? Spent about 42% of his time on vacation in the first 8 months of his presidency, and so I'm going to go down there on Wednesday, and I'll have a front row seat for him. I'd love for him to see the movie.
Yeah. You think he has? You think the secret screening maybe in the White House that he's
No way. No, they don't do that sort of thing, do they?
No. Well,
you do know about something about that, don't you?
Yeah. I don't think there were secret screenings. We saw Gandhi.
Oh, you did?
Gandhi with
see, now there you go. Your dad watched Gandhi.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, right there, he had an open mind. I'm just asking for the same thing from this man.
Yeah. What would you like to say to him if he were right here? Do you think you'd... Any word of wisdom?
Honestly, I've always felt kind of sorry for him. I've never felt that he really wanted this job, or any job, frankly. But, you know, and the slacker in me appreciates that. And I think honestly, secretly, he can't wait till November 3rd, the day after the election, where he can go back to living that life that he had. And I'm all for that. And, you know, just as I show in the movie, there are good parts to him. He's very good to his dogs, very good to his dogs.
Yeah.
And
Scotty.
yes, and the one that Barney that just died, but he's he's a good man to his dogs, and he seems to have raised two very lovely daughters, and you know, we wish him well after November.
Yeah. Will this change Hollywood's way of doing business at all? I mean, $100 million gets some people's attention in Hollywood. Do you think that we're going to see a spate of political documentaries coming out? Everybody thinking, hey, the money's in the political documentaries.
You could hear all the Hollywood meetings this morning, right?
Okay, somebody go get me a political documentary.
You know, that can only be a good thing. I would love to see more nonfiction films have a chance. Super Size Me, great film. Control Room. There's another film called The Corporation. There's really great documentaries out there right now.
You mentioned the sort of fiction and nonfiction, this blurring of news and entertainment, and you know, I mean, now we're in a situation where you've got late night comedians. Well, Jon Stewart, for instance.
Very popular.
Yeah. That's great. Actually breaking news and you know, busting some people. I mean, it was he that came up with the clip of Dick Cheney tying Saddam Hussein to 9/11. You know, nobody on Meet the Press did that. Any thoughts about this kind of smudging of the line?
I don't see it so much as a smudging as a necessary response, because the mainstream media at 6:30 every night hasn't done their job, and so therefore others have had to step in. And you will see things on Jon Stewart's show you will not see on the evening news. I think people are looking now toward other avenues. This is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. The smudging and the blurring between fiction and nonfiction that takes place with them. They're the ones who are trying to package wars and tell things to the public that aren't true and then try to sell it. It's no mistake when they hire a Hollywood set designer to build the set in Qatar from the Central Command to make it all look really cool and entertaining. And that's where the problem is, not with people who do nonfiction.
Yeah. War, the new entertainment?
Yeah, well, not so entertaining for the parents of those 900 who are dead. And all of us as Americans have a responsibility to answer to those parents. What did their children die for? What did they die for? And they have to answer for that. And I think they will answer for it come November 2nd.
Coming up, NBC News' Tom Brokaw and Tim Russer from the convention floor, from the booth itself, where former Vice President Al Gore is scheduled to take the stage at 8 o'clock tonight, followed by former President Jimmy Carter, and then by Senator Hillary Clinton and former President Bill Clinton, all tonight on MSNBC. Plus, we'll talk to former presidential candidate Wesley Clark right here. You're watching Hardball's live coverage of the Democratic National Convention on MSNBC.
I feel that notwithstanding the past, that my presence here is one additional bit of evidence that the American dream need not forever be deferred.
Texas Congresswoman Barbara Jordan made a career of breaking barriers, and in 1976, she broke one more, becoming the first woman and the first African American to give the keynote address to a major party convention.
Needs more energy and lower greenhouse gas emissions. And only one kind of power can deliver them both. That's why ExxonMobil spends more on research than any other energy company.
Somewhere between where you are and where you're going, there's a Super 8.
I think we're right about here.
See you along the way.
You know about Allegra, but you're about to see something you may never have seen before. Allegra D. Ask your doctor about Allegra D. You need to know about it.
I can assure you the bank's closing costs are very competitive. I'll just open these blinds to let in a little extra light.
Save big money on lender closing costs with the $395 Ditech flat fee.
That's impossible!
The $395 Ditech flat fee. Why pay more?
Lost another loan to Ditech.
Log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-DITECH-1.
We're headed to Memphis for our vacation.
All of a sudden, there's the deer right in front of our van.
It was just this loud impact.
And as I passed the van, I just saw it burst into flames. Everybody was in shock. That carload of people needed help. He offered to put us up for the night. He offered to take us to dinner.
It was a pretty big thing he did. He stepped up.
He just treated us like we were family.
At Walmart, we're taught to always do the right thing. I'm Todd Raspberry, and I'm a Walmart co-manager.
What the world needs now. What you need now is Sandals Royal Bahamian Resort and Spa, the Bahamas' only 5-star diamond hotel, where a world of incomparable luxury awaits, and it's all included. Warm up to sun-drenched beaches onshore. Escape offshore for exotic adventures on our private island. Discover the world's most pleasurable way to get away. Sandals Royal Bahamian. Call your travel agent or 1-800-SANDALS.
Baseline to baseline. Forehand to backhand. Slam to slam. Nobody covers tennis like ESPN and ESPN2. We're all over the clay, grass, and hardcourt scene. Serving up the top players in the world wherever they play, all season long.
Tennis on ESPN and ESPN2 is brought to you locally by
Pacific Continental. The right back.
I'm Melissa Rayberger with the headlines. Developments in the case of missing Utah woman Lori Hacking. Family members say her husband has now hired an attorney. Also, 3 days before she was reported missing last Monday, Lori may have discovered her husband's lies about being accepted to medical school in North Carolina. Co-workers say she left work in tears after taking a phone call apparently from that medical school. Prosecutors promised today to put Kobe Bryant on trial on sexual assault charges despite a judge's decision that will allow details of his accuser's sex life to be used against her at the trial. A spokesperson for the prosecution says they spoke with Bryant's accuser Friday after that ruling. And a high-ranking Egyptian diplomat has been released unharmed by militants who kidnapped him in Iraq on Friday. Meanwhile, 5 more kidnappings are now reported. Militants say they seized 2 Jordanians, 2 Pakistanis, and an Iraqi. All are contract workers for the United States military. Those are your headlines. Now back to Hardball.
Welcome back to Boston. We go right now to Carl Quintanilla, who's down on the floor. Carl, who do you got?
Hey, Chris, we're here in Michigan with Ron Gettelfinger, president of the UAW. Ron, obviously jobs a huge issue for not just the big 3, but for Michigan. Is that the key issue for you while you're here this week?
Well, obviously trade and jobs, the economy, health care, all of these issues. The number of Americans that are living below the poverty line, there's a lot of issues. But especially manufacturing jobs. Since Bush has been in office, we've lost 3 million. And in Michigan, as you know, Electrolux over in Greenville is just one example of jobs that are leaving this country.
Thank you very much, Ron Gettelfinger, president of the UAW. Chris.
Thank you, Carl Quintanilla, who's down on the floor. Now let's go, and that was Carl Quintanilla. Let's go right down to Tom Brokaw of NBC News and Tim Russert. They're standing by at the convention hall. Tom and Tim.
Chris, I was just watching the head of the UAW from Michigan and thinking one of the dilemmas that the Democrats are going to have when they go to Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan and the other organized labor states is that John Kerry's talking about himself as an internationalist. And outsourcing of jobs is a very large issue for those countries that get the jobs and for people who are taking a look at global trade and what it means for the economy in terms of money coming back. So that's going to be one of the many delicate balancing acts, I think, for this campaign, especially as they go into those battleground states in the industrial Midwest.
And Tom, he voted for NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. He's now saying he would want some environmental changes and so forth. But it's the same kind of nuanced position he has on the war. I voted to authorize the war, but it was handled in a way I wouldn't have done it. And that's not what Democrats like to hear. They like the black versus the white. but that's been banned from this convention. It's going to be make nice, lay out our case against the president, and offer a nuanced position.
And so, Chris, I think that's just one example of what John Kerry's going to have to talk about. On Thursday night, I had a talk with Bill Clinton, as you are probably aware. Yesterday, we did a long interview with him. We'll hear some more of it tonight before he goes on the air. And at the end, I said to him, what does John Kerry have to do specifically? And he said he has to do just that. He said that he'd had a conversation with John Kerry in which he said to him, if there are 1 million new jobs between now and Election Day, and there are no additional deaths in Iraq, and there are no additional terrorist attacks, do you still think that you should be President of the United States? And Kerry said to Bill Clinton, yes, I do. And he said, then you have to tell the American people why you should be President of the United States. The rope-a-dope strategy has to come to an end here in Boston this week. John Kerry's been the beneficiary of the difficulties of this president. But now the country's going to look at him in a different way, because they're not just Democrats looking at him. There are Republicans and independents and swing voters who are out there saying, okay, sell me. And that's going to make it a whole different equation, Tim.
There's anxiety about the economy, anxiety about Iraq, but you're exactly right, Tom. John Kerry has to say, I am a viable alternative. I can do this job. 30% of the American people say they don't know enough about him right now.
And the other part of it's not just, it seems to me, Chris, and I know that you talked about this a lot, it's not just where he stands on the issues, but does he connect with the American people as an empathetic figure? Is he someone that they're comfortable with? That old test about who do you want to have a beer with over the back fence, or who do you want to invite over for a barbecue? That remains a test of the American presidential candidates. Is there too much in his demeanor, a sense of entitlement? He's got a great resume. He's highly educated. Everybody talks about his intelligence. He was an authentic war hero. But does he connect with people in a way that they want to feel comfortable with him for the next 4 years as effectively the head of the American family?
Tom, do you think that Teresa Heinz is manageable in terms of keeping this modest tone, this quiet demeanor of the Democratic Party they're trying for this week?
You wouldn't be alluding to that incident in Pennsylvania, would you, Chris?
Yes.
In which she ran down the reporter to tell him to shove it. I'm not sure. I think it's very hard for us to know. I think that the American public, in a lot of ways, they kind of like that attitude. If it doesn't go too far, they can understand the exasperation of these candidates. I don't know, frankly, how the country is going to respond to Teresa Heinz. She is a different kind of a presidential candidate's wife. She was born in another country. She has an enormous fortune, as you know, at her disposal. She is very outspoken about a lot of issues. On the other hand, she's very well informed about a lot of issues, and her foundation does some remarkable work, and it has, among the people vetting those who should receive those grants, Republicans as well as Democrats. I think that in politics, like in war, you can't fight the last war. That you have to realize that there's a whole different attitude out there on the part of American women and people generally about what they want.
And I'll tell you, Chris, you're exactly right. The Bush campaign is going to say there is a difference between Laura Bush and Teresa Heinz.
Right.
And the Democrats saying, right.
Yeah.
And so you're going to hear Teresa Heinz address this convention tomorrow. She's going to do a series of interviews as well. We're going to find out whether the country's going to buy into it or not.
Yeah, the one thing is, I think that, Chris, that she certainly has defied conventional wisdom in the course of the primaries and the caucuses. When you saw her in Iowa, and she talked quite movingly as someone who had come to this country from another place, and all that she'd learned from this process. I talked to her last night at the Red Sox game when I was trying to shield my eyes from how the Sox were hammering the Yankees there in the middle of the game. And she talked really authentically about all that she's learned about this country by listening to people and participating in the system in a way that she'd never had a chance to before, even though she was married to the late John Heinz, the Republican senator from Pennsylvania.
Tom and Tim, it seems to me what the Democrats are trying to do here, based upon the briefing so far, is replicate that magic moment in New York City when the president stood on the rubble of the World Trade Center and convinced a lot of Americans he was the wartime commander we needed. How can you do that at a political convention?
Well, you can't duplicate that moment or recreate that moment. That was, in the early days of the Bush presidency, certainly a shining moment for him. It was one of those times in which the president, as a symbol of the country and a symbol of strength, whether you're Republican or Democrat, he was all that everyone wanted him to be. But what they can do here is show that they are not ignoring the terrorist threat. It's been striking to me how both parties in the last 4 or 5 days have suddenly seized the 9/11 report after being, if not dismissive about it, at least lukewarm about going back to work and doing something about it. I was talking to Harold Ford earlier today, the Tennessee congressman. He said, I think we ought to be back next week and maybe even have a special session. This one's got their attention. It's flying out of the bookstores, and the country said, look, if you're telling us that there's another attack coming, what are you doing about it?
Jay Rockefeller, the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democrats, West Virginia, canceled coming to the convention because of it. But Chris, we're going to hear a lot about John Kerry, the war hero. We're going to hear a lot about John Kerry, the man who could be the commander-in-chief because of his hardened experience. You're exactly right. Democrats must pass that threshold. They have to be seen as someone who can lead the war on terror. If perhaps Iraq was the wrong decision, the public will not give them a pass and say, all right, we want to go back to the old days of a Democratic Party that's perceived as, quote, weak on defense.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom Brokaw and Tim Russert. Up next, former presidential candidate General Wesley Clark's going to join us in Faneuil Hall. He's walking up the set right now. Our coverage of the Democratic Convention continues in a minute right here on MSNBC.
If it can happen, Liberty Mutual's planned for it. We have pre-approved auto repair centers whose work we guarantee as long as you own the car. Liberty Mutual. It's more than insurance. It's insurance in action.
At some stores, it's like I'm not even there. But then at other places, I just can't get away from them. Not at LensCrafters. They answer all my questions, even before I ask. Talk about service.
Now get $100 off all glasses, even prescription sunglasses. That's $100 off. LensCrafters. You'll see, we're better.
Who needs an erectile dysfunction treatment that can work up to 36 hours? Couples who don't want to put their lovemaking on a schedule. Couples who just like to let it happen. 36-hour Cialis is for couples who like to choose the moment that's right for them. Because Cialis is the only ED treatment proven to both go to work fast and work up to 36 hours. Cialis is not for everyone. Do not take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain or certain alpha blockers for prostate problems or high blood pressure, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. Cialis is only for men healthy enough for sexual activity. Erections lasting longer than 4 hours, though rare, require immediate medical help. Ask your doctor if a free sample of Cialis is right for you. Then ask your partner what she has in mind. 36-hour Cialis. When the moment is right, you can be ready. And now, check out the Cialis Promise at Cialis.com.
Next, is the Kerry Edwards Plan for America viable? Pat Buchanan and Bill Press have arguments from the left and right on Countdown with Keith Olbermann, next, only on MSNBC.
Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield, and we'll pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And we'll now give you 24 free dinners to Azteca Mexican restaurant. So for the highest quality windshields, including 24 free dinners to Azteca Mexican restaurant, call Empire Glass today at 503-251-9881. 503-251-9881. And remember, when you think glass, think Empire.
This year in Autzen Stadium, the Ducks have a chance to embrace history with an unprecedented 11th straight winning season. Join the crowd. An Oregon record is on the line.
Welcome back to Boston. Of course, just to let you up to date on the schedule tonight, Al Gore's going to be speaking to the country at 8 o'clock, and that's going to be a barn burner based on his recent performances. General Wesley Clark is sitting right with me. We're going to talk to him in just a minute. But first, let's get down to the convention floor. NBC's Carl Quintanilla. Carl.
Chris, we're here with Kwame and Fume of the NAACP. 7 conventions in 32 years. It has been a tumultuous month at best for race relations in this election. Have you ever seen it this bad?
Well, I haven't, and you're right. Since 1980, it's been a while, and I've been at every one of these conventions. It's sad in a way, I think, that the current president missed a lot of opportunities, notwithstanding the fact that there really wasn't a lot of outreach from the White House to black organizations the 3 years prior, but here was an opportunity in the campaign year, I think, to take the edge off of that small percentage of vote that he was getting and to find a way to build on it. He chose not to do that, or he chose a different way to do it, and I think it was a missed opportunity.
Your argument this year is that turnout, although albeit a cliche when it comes to a lot of black voters, is going to turn on those who are most unlikely to vote.
Well, the NAACP is registering the unlikely voter. I mean, most polls talk about X amount percentage of likely voters are leaning this way or that way. We recognize that the bulk of voters are the unlikely ones, the ones that are not voting every year. So our effort across the country has been to do that, to make sure people are educated. How they vote is on them, but to make sure they get to the polls to vote.
Are you satisfied with the level of political discourse this week? Teresa Heinz Kerry told a reporter last night to shove it. Does that get this convention off on the wrong foot?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was looking in the newspaper the other day where one of Mr. Bush's daughters stuck her tongue out at a reporter. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm not going to do either thing. And I think it's just a part of the heat and the passion that goes into these elections.
Mr. Mfume, enjoy the convention.
Thank you very, very much.
Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Carl. He was with the NAACP President Kwame Mfume. Let me go right now to a real star of American politics, General Wesley Clark. You know, when you read the battle plans of the Democrats this week, and I guess you're privy to them, it's all about, even Jimmy Carter, I was looking at his speech plan for tonight. It's not a peace speech. It's about what a great warrior John Kerry is. Don't the Democrats seem more poised to nominate somebody like you than John Kerry, a warrior?
I think John Kerry's the right guy to lead this country.
Better than you?
This is John Kerry's time and his moment, of course. Look, this is a man who's done it in war. He was a commander in war.
You commanded an army. He commanded a boat.
Wait a minute. He's done it in war. He's done it in peace. He showed physical courage. He showed moral courage. He's 4 times a United States Senator. He's been Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts. You couldn't have a better man as candidate for President of the United States at this time than John Kerry.
The Democratic Party, as a party, and you know because you ran as one, are dovish on this war in Iraq. They don't like this war in Iraq. You've nominated someone who gave the president the authority to go to war, who's running basically as a warrior, a man of peace, but a warrior. Would the party here be happier with a person who was an out-and-out opponent of the war as their candidate?
Look, John Kerry...
I hear them here. I poll them every night.
John Kerry made his views clear very early. He said only as a last resort should you go to war.
And you believe that?
And I believe that. And John Kerry voted...
He voted.
He did. John Kerry voted for the president after he was assured that the president was going to go to the United Nations. He was assured the president was going to the United Nations, and the president misled the United States Congress. That's a fact.
Look, General, didn't John Kerry put himself in a position which was win-win? If the war turned out right, having given the president the authority to go to war, he could have been a big hero and said, I gave the full power, I'm totally with him. If the war turned out kind of messily like it has, then he could say, I only gave him the authority to go to war. I didn't really think it'd go.
Chris, John Kerry did what he thought was right for the country. That has nothing to do with covering veterans.
When you said in the
when
campaign,
you're a United States Senator, you do what's right for the country.
When you were in this campaign, you stood against this war, and you challenged Kerry in his war position, right?
I was in this campaign. I told the truth to the American people, so has John Kerry.
Okay.
He and I agreed that force had to be used as a last resort and a last resort only.
The theme of tonight's convention, and we're going to hear it from former President Carter, I'm sure we'll hear it from the Clintons, both of them, and from Al Gore to some extent, is that this man, John Kerry, will make a great commander-in-chief in times of peril, right?
Right.
Is not the Democratic Party according to the Republicans, I think they got a case here, trying to make over themselves as a moderate, middle-of-the-road party, when in fact most of the people who are out here right now are very much against this war, very much against this president as being too conservative, that they are in fact ideologically on the other end of the spectrum. And now they're trying to pretend they're in the middle.
Look, the Democratic Party is the country that can best help assure the safety and security of the United States of America, and John Kerry's the right guy to be the commander-in-chief.
How can he call a right guy when he's a man of the left? He has 100%, I'm sorry, according to the National Journal, he has the most liberal voting record in the entire United States Senate. Now you're trying to sell him as a middle-of-the-roader. John Edwards, the fourth most liberal voting record in the United States Senate. Now you're all trying to sell him as a moderate. Which is the truth?
I'm telling you, he's the right guy to be the commander-in-chief.
Okay.
I'm not trying to sell him as one way or the other on votes in the Senate. I'm talking about a man who has moral courage and physical courage. He's been there, and that experience is going to inform him every single day when he makes decisions. We're going to be safer as a nation because John Kerry's in the White House.
There's an angry left in this country. People who are very much against this war, very much against the tax policies of the administration, very much against the jobs record, the trade policies. They like Michael Moore's movie Fahrenheit 9/11. 100 million in sales. Why is your party trying to hide those people at this convention? Those angry people of the opposition?
Well, there's no effort to hide anybody in this convention. There's a lot of people in this convention that want to see a change in the government. But this is an election, I think, that's very polarized. The American public is very polarized, and there's 15 to 20% of the people who are in the middle of this. I defended Michael Moore's right to call.
You agree with him?
To call him a call the president a deserter. And Michael Moore is a man with courage and convictions and conscience. But this election is going to hinge on the people in the middle of the spectrum. And we're going to have to reach out to Americans, including those who like George and Laura Bush. And I'm sure they're fine people. It's nothing personal as far as I'm concerned. This is about what's right for the country.
Right now, General,
we need a man who's
going to be a very good
commander-in-chief.
Let me ask you this, to talk to the TV set. Talk to that tube and tell those middle-of-the-road 20% of the people why they should shift from undecided to John Kerry and John Edwards.
Well, what we need in this country right now is we need new policies. We need more care for the armed forces and the people who are in them. We need stronger intelligence. We need more capacity to work with our allies. We're going to have to make more friends and fewer enemies in the world. John Kerry, John Edwards are the right people to do it, the right people to keep us safe. Nothing personal against George Bush. It's about what's safe for this country. Look, I spent 38 years in uniform. I was never partisan, but I saw what was going wrong in this country before 9/11 and after 9/11, and I'm speaking out. And so are a lot of the veterans across this country. We've been there, we've done it, we know what we need in a commander-in-chief, and we say John Kerry's the man. It's that simple.
Massachusetts is with me here tonight. You hear Massachusetts? These people would have been a lot happier if George McGovern was elected president. A lot happier. The Democratic Party, when they nominated George McGovern back when you were a Republican back in 1972, were afraid to talk about George McGovern's war record in Europe when he fought as a bomber pilot, when he fought with Tito against Nazism in Yugoslavia, right? Are the Democrats coming out of the closet now and saying we're not afraid to say we're a warrior party as well as a party of peace? We're not just going to be a peacenik party. Has it changed, the Democratic Party?
Democrats have always had people who are fighters and leaders.
We used to vote against...
Half the voters in this election weren't even alive when George McGovern ran.
You're Republican. I just want to know what's changed.
I think what's changed is this country's changed. And we understand this country's at risk. We need great leaders. And John Kerry's the kind of leader we need. Why? Because John Kerry has had the experience. He's smart. He does his homework. He listens. He learns. He's going to be able to take this country forward. And that's the kind of leaders we're looking for.
During the primaries, General Wesley Clark, you proved very successful in winning a big primary in Oklahoma, right?
And I'm really, Oklahoma is okay.
You deliver, I think that's from a movie. Can you deliver the Sooners?
That's what I said, and I love them.
Can you deliver the Sooners, a very conservative group of people, to John Kerry and John Edwards?
Well, we're going to be working Arkansas. We're going to be working Oklahoma. We're going to be working the South. We're going to do everything we can do to get John Kerry and John Edwards in the White House because America's future is at risk.
Can you deliver Oklahoma?
We're going to deliver Oklahoma, Arkansas, and a lot of states. And Chris, I'll tell you this, you're going to be surprised by the outcome of this election.
You're a Razorback, right?
John Kerry and John Edwards are going to win an overwhelming victory in this election. And let me tell you why. Yeah, I know. Let's get off your script for a second. This is Hardball. Then you play Hardball with me.
I haven't read a
play Hardball with me.
You read the question I read. I don't have a script.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. George Bush.
This is like third inning the other night.
George Bush has passed the tipping point.
Okay.
He's no longer going to be given credit by the American people for being a nice guy who was put in a difficult circumstance. The American people want competence, character, and courage in their president. And they want competence. And what they're seeing again and again is incompetent leadership in this administration. And that is already over the edge. Just look at the 9/11 Commission. There's George Bush, who tried to prevent the formation of the 9/11 Commission, who resisted giving it information. Now he's calling for a special commission to study the results of the 9/11 Commission. Why doesn't he implement it? We're in danger today. His own Homeland Security Director said it. So what's the delay? What's the more study? Let's get to work. Let's put the security back in place for this country.
If the purpose of tonight's Democratic Convention opening session is to convince the country that John Kerry is a great warrior and would be a great warrior president defending this country's interests against all enemies, why use Bill Clinton to make the case? Is Bill Clinton the best case you've got, the best advocate, the best witness you've got for fighting a war when he obviously did everything he could to avoid doing it?
Let me tell you something, Chris.
Well, it's
Bill Clinton.
Why is Bill Clinton a case for a strong commander-in-chief?
Look what he did in Yugoslavia. He grabbed the problem of Yugoslavia. It was the toughest problem of our generation. He brought peace. He fought a war. We got through that Kosovo campaign without a single American casualty.
Who was the one leading that?
You know who was over there in Europe, but there were a lot of generals. And there were a lot of people. Well, thanks a lot. I'll accept partial credit. But I give the credit to Bill Clinton. He was the commander-in-chief. He knew how to use diplomacy backed by force. We're talking about John Kerry being somebody who knows when to use force, but he also knows when not to.
Do you believe Bill Clinton, who's speaking tonight, was a great American president? A great American president?
Well, look at the record.
I want to know.
Just look at the record.
Oh, me.
22 million jobs.
We're here speaking on his behalf.
22 million
was
jobs.
a great president.
He brought this country together. Under Bill Clinton's leadership, we improved the living standard for ordinary Americans for the first time in a generation.
So he was a great president?
I think he was a great president, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Furthermore, he's a great Arkansan, and we love him in Arkansas.
Well, one Razorback will be cheering very hard tonight. Hillary Clinton for president. Is she willing to put aside her ambitions to be president someday to help John Kerry become president, and after that, John Edwards to become president? Is she willing to step aside for two Democratic presidential candidates?
Hillary Clinton is a great American, and she's going to do everything she can to do what's right for this country, and that's to put John Kerry and John Edwards in office.
She will sacrifice her personal ambitions for that.
You watch Hillary Clinton. She is tough, she is smart, and she is selfless. Watch her.
Great, I'd love to hear it. Anyway, thank you, General Wesley Clark, a great American hero. Coming up in the next hour, former Vice President Al Gore's speech at the convention. This is going to be a hot one, I think, even with the censorship. And later tonight, former President Jimmy Carter, my old boss, plus Hillary Rodham Clinton and William Jefferson Clinton, both speaking tonight. The Democrats are bringing out the first team tonight. You're watching Hardball's coverage of the Democratic National Convention live on MSNBC.
Nobody knows this neighborhood better than Wendy Owens of Prudential Real Estate. Wendy's great with technology, and she's the best there is at bringing buyers and sellers together.
They've agreed to an early closing.
Professionals like Wendy Owens are why you choose Prudential Real Estate.
Wherever you are, wherever you're going, T-Mobile hotspot locations are with you throughout your day. Wi-Fi internet service for your laptop or PDA. T-Mobile. Get more.
We have superpowers. We are protectors of the innocent and champions of freedom. We can fly you quickly to safety, react with superhuman reflexes, and shield you within a fortress of steel. Introducing the 210 horsepower all-wheel drive Subaru Forester, the best small SUV ever tested by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety.
My work here's done.
The new Subaru.
Delicious smokehouse barbecue grilled chicken. That's all white meat. Crispy baked country chicken, sesame broccoli, and rich decadent chocolate meat.
Any specials tonight?
I'm glad you asked.
The seasonal dinner specials menu, now at Boston Market. Boston Market, we're always cooking.
It's incredible news, and we just can't keep it bottled up. Listerine's as effective as floss. Clinical studies prove it. So even if you don't floss like you should, now you can get its healthy benefits from simply rinsing. Listerine kills the germs that cause plaque, even between teeth. So it's as effective as floss, and it's so easy. Listerine, as easy as rinsing, as effective as flossing. Remember, not mayonnaise, Miracle Whip. Because it has half the fat of mayonnaise and the tangy zip. It's the beast.
A sandwich just isn't a sandwich without Miracle Whip.
Thank you for shopping at Office Depot.
Thank you for shopping at Office Depot.
Gracias por comprar en Office Depot.
Thanks for shopping at Office Depot.
Buy your school supplies at Office Depot, and Office Depot will give 5% back to your school and up to 10% back to you.
I am so set for school.
This year, Allstate is proud to continue a great Olympic tradition, winning. Go to AllstateGoUSA.com right now, and you could win one of 5 new Cadillacs or other great prizes. That's AllstateGoUSA.com.
Whether it happens on the other side of the globe or right next door, turn to the nation's most trusted news source. America's watching MSNBC.